Well, your perspective is apt, but we are further along than we used to be. I don't think people take statements like the famous one made by Roger Ebert about how video games aren't art very seriously anymore. However, we are still a ways away, like a long ways away from being able to have video games used as educational tools. And understandably so. There's a lot of different obstacles that get in the way. For example, whether or not people have access to certain systems, how long is the game? How difficult is the game? How would you be able to make sure that a student gave equal time to textbooks alongside the games, stuff like that. And I believe there are solutions to those problems. And I hope I can do videos on them pretty soon and people will watch them. But the underlying point that I try to make to anybody who says, well, those problems are insurmountable, the underlying point is that, look, the number one thing that you want to try and do for a prospective student is to try and get them to fall in love with what they're learning about. When I was going to school, I didn't care about anything that I was taught. And because of that, I don't remember a single damned thing that I learned in all of primary school, throughout university, anything. But what got me to learn and care about things like philosophy and like all the stuff that I talk about on my channel are video games. And because video games are the most popular entertainment medium out there right now, so many people playing them, all different ages, if we can get to that point where people see, hey, like with people like me, that it can entice people to develop themselves and read about all these wonderful, profound ideas by using video games as a gateway, what could be better than that? So did that answer your question?
It does. I mean, I wanted to proffer an idea that I wanted to see if you concur or disagree with. I think one of the barriers to video games being taken as an art form is the idea that books, movies, music, television, they're all seen to be passive experiences. But what I would argue is that or painting, literal artwork, by the way, you have to engage with them in order to contemplate their deeper meaning or what they're trying to represent, or you have to engage with it to some degree in order to extrapolate something. Whereas gaming, the interaction is implied, and therefore it's you're kind of so busy interacting with the thing to get it to do what you want, you don't have the ability to engage with it on an intellectual basis because you're so consumed with the action. I would argue, though, that it's the same problem. It's just that it's presented in a different way, in the sense that it requires a keener mind to contemplate a game while you're playing it, because you are doing something. I mean, the great example of that, of course, is BioShock. No one's paying attention to you being told to do all this stuff while being told, would you kindly? And then when it finally dawns on you, you realize, man, I was given all of the clues, but I was so busy wrapped up in doing the things it was telling me to do that I never thought about it. Do you think that's a hurdle, or do you think that that's just it's just a natural limitation of the medium, that because you have to interact with it, it's seen as different to music, to movies, to television, where you just sit back and you just look, or you just observe?
Right. It isn't. Yes, you're right. The thing that separates video games from the other media is that it is an active experience. And because of that, it can distract from the deeper elements because people are more focused on entertainment. That's true. But just because that is a hurdle doesn't mean that that hurdle can't be accommodated. So for example, one thing that I try to do in order to analyze games that have a great active component where there's a lot of action going on, but there's a lot of meaningful subtext, is I will watch movie clips from the game compiled together on YouTube to be able to have that more interpretive, meditative experience. That's one, like going back to the whole, like, how would you make video games a useful, manageable tool in an educational setting? That would be one way, is to remove the gameplay elements from the game and then use clips as a part of an educational lecture. You'd have to be a little bit like wary of the nature of the game and how you can use those clips effectively, but I think it can be done.